Picture this: you have just spent the last hour meticulously rocking a fussy baby to sleep. You finally tiptoe out of the room, sit down on the couch, and turn on your favorite streaming show at a perfectly reasonable volume, only to be absolutely blasted into another dimension when a massively loud commercial comes on. It is incredibly infuriating. It completely ruins the vibe, and it is a problem we have all been dealing with for years. The state of California has finally decided they have had enough. Starting this Wednesday, July 1st, brand new California law is officially taking effect that strictly bans streaming platforms from blasting advertisements that are noticeably louder than the actual video content you are trying to watch. Believe it or not, we have actually had federal rules on the books for years that force traditional broadcast and cable television networks to normalize their commercial volumes. Streaming services have somehow been operating in this weird, unregulated Wild West where they could basically blow out your eardrums whenever they wanted to push a new car advertisement. According to reports from Ars Technica, none of the major streaming platforms have actually come out and publicly explained exactly how they plan to physically comply with this new mandate, which is a little sketchy considering the deadline is literally right now. However, here is the really good news for everyone who does not live in California. Because these streaming architectures are global and deeply integrated, it is highly likely that these companies will just apply the volume leveling updates across their entire user base, rather than building a separate, quieter system just for one single state. Plus, a nearly identical bill is already scheduled to become law in Illinois next year, so the writing is clearly on the wall for the entire entertainment industry. When this California legislation was originally passed way back in 2025, the primary sponsor of the bill, State Senator Thomas Umberg, specifically called out that exhausted parent scenario, saying the law was inspired by anyone who had their hard work completely undone by a blaring digital ad. Of course, the massive corporate powers were not exactly thrilled about being told what to do by the government. Massive industry lobbying groups, including the Motion Picture Association of America and the Streaming Innovation Alliance, fought hard against the bill. Their main argument was that streaming platforms were allegedly already working on fixing the issue internally, and they complained that standardizing volume is incredibly difficult because they have to beam content to thousands of wildly different output devices, from massive home theater systems and high-end televisions to cheap tablets and tiny smartphone speakers. Regardless of their excuses, the law is here, and it marks a massive victory for consumer sanity. It is genuinely baffling that it took until 2026 to get a legal mandate stopping multi-billion-dollar tech companies from intentionally spiking audio levels to grab our attention. So, the next time an ad break hits on your favorite platform, and you do not have to aggressively dive for your remote control to mute the television, you can probably thank the state of California for finally stepping up and forcing the streaming giants to respect our living rooms.